from Tech3 in France to the Sepang International Circuit. Well, as you can see, we got here just on time because these flight cases are about to head out to Malaysia for the first round of MotoGP testing in just over a week's time. Now, before that, we are going to bring you one more off-season show, and that is here from the south of France at the Monster Yamaha Tech3 headquarters, where we're going to be looking into a little bit what goes into running a team, what goes into these cases, and everything else that surrounds the MotoGP outfit. And all of that we're going to be finding out from the owner himself. Well, so here we are with team boss Hervé Poncharal. Hervé, thank you very much for having us here in your workshop.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you very much. I mean, obviously, this is what behind-the-scenes MotoGP looks like. But before we get into the workshop side, we were just with the flight cases. We've seen them, they've been picked up. But in the flight cases, there weren't any bikes. Maybe you can explain this satellite situation where you don't actually have the Yamahas here.
Yes, so being a satellite MotoGP team, I think most of the factories, not to say all the factories, are doing exactly the same. You know, our bike belongs to Yamaha. Yamaha is doing the development, is doing you know, the whole R&D work, and for sure after Valencia test, following the last race of the year, everything is shipped back to Japan, where they are working, you know, at the racing department on the new bike, on developing, you know, every item, chassis, engine, etc. And the next time we see the bike physically is when we go to Sepang prior to the first test, where we are going to have 2 days of schooling and assembling of the 2015 bike before the test is happening. So during the course of the winter, we have no parts, no bikes at all relating to MotoGP. So.
But you obviously have quite a big setup here. So, you know, I'm assuming that you basically have to do everything around it. Is it then from box, from hospitality and trucks? I mean, maybe you can explain us a little.
Yes, you know, not every MotoGP team is working exactly the same way. We have chosen here to have the possibility to have as much work as we can done in-house by our team. Clearly, the racing mechanic are doing, you know, working on the bike and proper, you know, motorcycle GP mechanic during the course of the year. But in winter, as you mentioned, we work on the pit complex, we work on the hospitality, we work on the flight cases, we work on, you know, preparing everything which is related to our program, but not only working on the bike. Of course, we have a lot to do because we have decided to build our own Moto2 machine. So even the MotoGP staff sometimes is giving a hand to the Moto2 guys, which means that even though we don't have the MotoGP bike here, we are quite busy through the winter.
Okay, well, Hervé, before moving on to Moto2, we do want to know what is actually in those flight cases then?
We sent 14 crates, and basically we got everything we're shipping to a Grand Prix, except the 4 crates with the 4 bikes that will be shipped from Japan to Sepang, and except the whole pit complex, because we don't send the full pit complex like the one we're using for the races. Outside of that, you know, we're shipping the riders' crates with their leather, their helmet, their boots, all their own equipment. So that's 1 crate per rider, plus all the spare parts, all the tools and everything we need for a 3 days test, more than a 3 days test, because what we have shipped is going to be used for Sepang 1, Sepang 2, and Qatar test prior to the Grand Prix.
So it then goes straight from Sepang to Qatar. It doesn't even come back here to the workshop.
No, absolutely not. The only thing we will ship from here to Qatar for the test is, as I mentioned before, all the equipment for the pit box, the pit complex. Because
that's then obviously going to be ready for the test, but then also stay there for the first race.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Well, look, that's MotoGP, but obviously with this workshop, what we've seen today is we've actually seen a lot of work going on the Moto2 bikes. Now, it obviously doesn't have the same visibility that MotoGP does, but do you feel that it's a certain project which is maybe a bit closer to your heart because it's an in-house thing? This is really a Tech3 bike.
Absolutely. I don't want to say it's closer to my heart because you know, and everybody knows, you know, how close we work with Yamaha, how strong the partnership, the relationship is, and you know, every single year we feel more and more part of Yamaha family and really involved in the MotoGP project. But the MotoGP class is now impossible to enter that class without the support of a factory. So this is the way we are working. But in the Moto2 class, clearly this is our own project. We might be maybe the last to come racing with our own specific chassis, manufactured, built and designed here at Tech3 against the main brand, which is almost 90% of the field. But clearly, yeah, this is our baby, this is our bike, this is designed here, and we have always a special feeling to the Moto2 class when we're watching our two guys on it, because this is, as you mentioned, this is our baby. And
I'm sure that that's got to help your mechanics, your other guys that are working on that project when it's not MotoGP time. I'm sure to give a more understanding of the bike. I mean, there must be a lot of symmetry there.
You know, absolutely. I believe, you know, that if you only do what you have to do during the course of the Grand Prix week and then go back home in between, this is working, and this is what most of the team are doing. But I think if you give something to do in between the races to your guys, especially when it is about to design a bike, to think of how to improve, to face the problem of a constructor, clearly you understand things, you improve your skill, you also, when you face a situation of having to set up the bike of Paul or Bradley, maybe what you've learned is going to help you to be more performant and quicker to find a solution in that department. So for me, this is very important to have the Moto2 project based here and done here, because this is helping me to employ some young engineer, employing some young mechanics. This is kind of reservoir for the MotoGP, because sometimes you have turnover, you have guys that are leaving for any reason. So they are prepared to work with us. We know them, and this is what has been happening during the course of the winter. Some of them are moved from Moto2 to MotoGP, and I think this is a really good school, and this is helping the whole Tech3 operation in Moto2 and MotoGP to be more performant. And I'm also quite glad that every year we have the request of Yamaha Thailand to enter Moto2 with one of their guys as a wildcard using our bike. So this is making really the Moto2 Tech3 bike almost inside the whole Yamaha project.
Okay. Obviously, two projects though. I mean, you've got the GP, you've got the Moto2. You talk about the schooling, obviously very enthusiastic about it, but I'm sure it's got to give you more work though as a team manager. I mean, what's the most difficult part about running a team?
The most difficult part, I would say, clearly, is to find the financial resources to go racing. And we know the economy, especially in our part of the world, which is Europe, is not very healthy at the moment. So this is clearly the most difficult, and maybe the one you enjoy the least. But outside of that, of course, you know, what makes you sometimes feel bad in between brackets is when you don't have the result you are wishing. But the rest is, you know, we have a lot more positive. We have a lot more enjoyment months than bad times. And this is why I'm still here.
Okay, perfect. Well, we're going to come on to that enjoyment and all the emotional times you go through with the riders. We're going to do that in part 2. For now, first of all, what we're going to do is we're going to have a look. Well, moving on from one current rookie to one that was voted Rookie of the Year in 2014. Hervé, we're now going to talk about your riders, but actually beforehand, I want to talk about what is behind you. This gorgeous 250 restored Yamaha Olivier Jacques. Tell us something about that. Why is this here?
Okay, first, that bike is a very special bike for us. We won the 250 World Championship in 2000. This is the only championship, unfortunately, we won yet.
Okay.
So this is very special memory for us. Also because thanks to having won the title in 250, this has helped us to convince Yamaha to support us moving up to the top class in 500. So this bike is very, very important in our heart, in Tech3 history also. Why it is here? Because we have decided end of last year to open a new department which is called Tech3 Classic. And everybody knows Guy Coulon, you know, our partner, is very famous in doing a lot of things in old bikes. He has an incredible knowledge. And some of our guys decided to try to work in that department. So this is why we gave them the possibility to do the Tech3 Classics, which is mainly going to be work and restore old racing bikes, keep them in perfect shape to go racing, because we have more and more classic events, kind of race demonstration, and you know, we're happy to be part of that. Hopefully, you know, we will have quite a few people asking us to help them. Maybe we will also follow these guys to some events, so have a proper, you know, race transporter to go to the classic events. Unfortunately, we are, I think, the oldest MotoGP team, so this is giving us some credibility in that department. We have some knowledge and some memories of this old days time, so it can help Tech3 Classic to grow and to be a success.
Okay, well, talking about success, someone else who you want to be a success, Pol Espargaro. Let's start with him. No longer a rookie, but I think a pretty successful, especially eventful year as well. What did you make of that?
First, you know, I want to say Pol is an incredible guy. You know, outside of the racer, he is a charming person. Instantly, you know, everything gelled together when he came into the team. He felt part of the team, and we feel that we've been working forever with him. And he brings such a great and positive atmosphere inside the team. So I would like to thank him for that. But also, his main mission is to perform on track. And I think, as you mentioned, he's been Rookie of the Year, which is the first achievement he had to do. But also, he's been doing some really, you know, strong performance. I remember our home Grand Prix in Le Mans, where he was front row, second on the grid, fourth in the race, very, very close to his first podium. It didn't happen. It could have happened in Australia, but we will remember what happened, you know, during the last few laps. But clearly, I think this year he's learned a lot. By learning and pushing, you make some mistakes. So he's done some mistakes, but the potential of Pol, together with the Yamaha M1 done here at Tech3, is much higher. I think that the overall position he's having in the 14 championship. He's so motivated. And we've been talking quite a lot with him. We know I went to Jakarta to visit Yamaha Indonesia with him, and we've talked a lot. And I think he set some very high goals. He knows 15 is going to be very important, because it's also his last year with Yamaha, and he's got to show. And I'm quite sure he's going to deliver some great performance. We are behind him, but we trust and we believe in him a lot.
Okay, well, I think someone else under a bit of pressure, Bradley Smith. I mean, he was really fighting for this third year, and for me, Sachsenring. I remember quite a lot of crashes. Five crashes exactly. I mean, but I think that was more Bradley putting himself under immense pressure, wasn't it?
You know, in an ideal world, I would have 10 riders in MotoGP class, because I think you know, it's always difficult to select or to stop working with a rider. So clearly, Bradley has a special history with Tech3. He started with us in 2011, I believe, in Moto2. He's done 2 years in Moto2. Then he has done another 2 with us in MotoGP. So we are now ready to open the 5th year chapter. It was difficult, because you mentioned just before the summer break, Sachsenring was so difficult. He was trying to push to maybe impress or to show too much, that sometimes, you know, sometimes everything works easy and sometimes nothing is working. And Sachsenring was a typical example where he was fast, he could have done well, but for some small reason, weather, a few drops, trying a little bit too much, didn't work out. He had the summer break to think about it. We've talked a lot on the phone or through emails during the summer break. And, you know, before going there, together, him, Yamaha and Tech3, we've decided to give him the chance one more year in 15. We announced it in Indy. And since then, his performance were a lot better. So hopefully 15 will be closer to the second part of 14 than the first part of 14. although we started really well in 14, if you remember, he was front row in Qatar.
Yeah.
He was fighting for a podium finish when he crashed a few laps to the end, which was a real shame because maybe the season would have been different, maybe a little bit less pressure. Round one is always very important.
Right.
When you score a good result at round one, you get some points under your belt, you go to the second and third race with a different approach. So I think we're going to work again on that. Bradley is fast, Paul is fast, we believe in them, Yamaha is behind them 100%, but we have to work on also help them to be psychologically stronger, to feel less pressure, although they need to have pressure. But
right.
you know, you always have positive and negative pressure. It's going to be, you know, it's a team result. So I don't want to blame a rider or the bike or something like this. All together, we have a program, we have a target, and we need to be reaching that because we know each other quite well, and sometimes results are coming from continuity. So, you know, 15 is going to be an important year for many riders in MotoGP class, including our two guys.
Okay, well, Hervé, well, thank you very much for that. Obviously, we hope 15 is good. We hope you give us some exciting racing with the riders and obviously all the emotion of you guys in the box, and all the best. We'll
Thank you for your visit, and hopefully, if we win the championship, you come back to celebrate here.
Certainly, will do. All
Cheers.
right, thanks, Hervé.
Now, to finish off the series, we thought we'd leave you with a little insight into our onboard cameras. The technology itself is a closely guarded secret, but something that isn't is the testing. And as a one-off outing, to explain a little bit about what we do at every race weekend, the team very kindly gave me the opportunity to do a few laps myself. A bit of a stretch, some abuse from the cameramen, as well as a few last-minute tips from 1999 world champion Alex Crivier. And it was time to set off on my 3-lap stint on the specially prepared BMW safety bike. And as you'll see very shortly, I'm not even quick enough to keep up on a slow warm-up lap with the real professionals, but out of my 3 laps, this is unfortunately the best. In fact, I actually thought I wasn't doing too badly, but others were of a different opinion. Well, as I seem to be boring a few people with the lap, I'll briefly explain what we're actually doing. Basically, regardless of whether we've been to a track before or not, we test the onboard camera's reception for each rider on every part of the circuit. Yes, I know, it'll be over soon, don't worry. Anyway, Aragon, for instance, is a very undulating track and has some very fast straights, which makes it extremely vital that everything is in good working order. And of course, the only way to simulate the right speed and movement is on a bike.
You have room for improvement. what a relief.
But Herbert, seriously, what do you reckon? Maybe next year there might be a space in the team, you know, if I improve a little bit throughout, what do you reckon?
What I would like to tell you is I think you pick up the right job. It's much better for you to be behind a microphone than on a racing bike. So,
Okay.
no, this is a bit harsh. No, having said that, you know, having the small amount of laps you had, I think you did quite well. For sure, I can see that you are better down the straight than in the corner.
Okay,
So
okay.
You're more a dragster guy than a proper MotoGP guy.
Right.
But there is a lot of room for improvement, which is the good news. You know?
Okay,
On
okay.
the braking zone, on the speed through the corner, you can improve a lot also on the opening throttle. So you have a lot to learn.
Okay.
What I would suggest you is maybe to start by Moto2.
Okay. Okay. On a Mistral 610?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. And we could be ready to give you a test if you want. But I'm not joking.
Okay.
And then we can see, and I can talk to Mr. Tsuji and Mr. Lin Jarvis following your result to see if they have a spot available for you 2000, I would say 18, 19 in the full factory Yamaha MotoGP team.
Perfect. I'll only be about 34, 35 then,
Fine,
and you know, Rossi's
Valentino is showing you the way, so you know,
Perfect.
the older you get, the better you will
perfect. Excellent. Well, thank you, Herbert. I really appreciate those comments and your honesty. You were probably far too nice to me. But look, guys, if that didn't make you want to watch the actual professionals, the actual fast guys go around the track, then I don't know what will. But the good thing is, at least now you can count down the days, because on the 4th of February, that's when we start the Sepang MotoGP test. And of course, be sure to follow us on MotoGP.com for that, for all the latest news and some exciting features. So make sure to join us then.